Welcome back. So finally made it back to home base after a weekend out in California, hanging out with family, going to a friend's wedding as well. And we are back here in the main studio. And I talked about how this video was going to be coming here very, very soon, looking at the final rundown of the top 10 in sprint car earnings from the 2025 season after the final 410 race of the year took place at the BAPS Motor Speedway in Pennsylvania. And so now all of these numbers are set in stone. We know who finished where as far as earnings go from the hundreds of drivers that ran 410s this year. The top 10 are on the board. We've also got the 25th place guy and the 44th place driver as well. Got some other stats to look at over here as well. And what you'll notice from this video by the end is that basically the money that is involved in sprint car racing over the last couple of years has began to trickle down to guys, not the top teams, not the Big Game Motorsports, not the Roth Motorsports, the Casey Kane Racings, the teams like that, the Rico Abreu Racings. There's been more money being handed out to more mid-tier teams. And so I think that's a good thing. And you'll see here in this video what I am talking about. So over here, I did want to talk about the top 10 drivers and earnings this year. Buddy Kofoid, of course, was the winningest driver in the sport this year when it comes to the money earned. $833,710 in race purses this year for Buddy Kofoid. Also wanted to mention as well, none of the numbers on the board have anything to do with points fund, no tow money, no bonuses, anything like that. This is all strictly from race purse alone. So, I mean, for guys like Gravel and Kofoid and Rico, all these guys that won championships and ran top 2 in top championships, their numbers are significantly higher if you added that in, but this is just for the race purse alone. So Kofoid, $833,710. That is the most a sprint car driver has earned in the history of the sport, with the exception of the year that the $1 million race was ran, and we know Logan Schuchart won that. So in a regular year, nobody has made this much money in one single season. Buddy Kofoid did it this year. Kofoid last year was $441,955. He was 7th on the earnings list in 2024. Of course, he jumps to P1 in 2025. Rico Abreu was behind him by quite a long way, $684,010 for Rico. Last year, he was 3rd in earnings at $568,000, and right below him is the World of Outlaws champion, just slightly below $600,000 in earnings for David Gravel, $599,375. He was the leading money earner last year at $702,620. And what you'll notice, basically with all the guys here on the board, Kofoid, High Bank Nationals win, High Bank Hustle win. Rico Abreu, he won the Skagit Nationals. David Gravel, he won the Roth Classic at Tulare. Got Anthony Macri here as well. He won the Kings Royal. Ryan Timms, he won the Knoxville Nationals. All these guys had big wins throughout the year. Macri 4th on the list at $541,738. Last year, he made $369,600. That was 10th best in the nation. And then rounding out the top 5, of course, is Ryan Timms. Got the Tuscarora 50 win as well to bump his total up to $467,095, up from 35th place last year and $100,525. So a $367,000 increase from one year to the next for Ryan Timms. P6 is Carson Macedo, $409,525. He dropped off quite a bit from last year, where he was 2nd in earnings at $580,300. Aaron Reutzel is 7th on the board, even though he missed a ton of time. He was having a fantastic season. More than likely, if Reutzel would have ran, the Gold Cup, the Knoxville Nationals, the Skagit Nationals, he probably would have been inside that top 5, or at least ahead of Carson Macedo. He ends up with $356,875. Last year, he was at $165,725, and he was 20th on the list. So the two big movers on this board, Ryan Timms at 35th last year and Aaron Reutzel at 20th. And just Reutzel, I mean, he literally missed out on 3 races that paid over $100,000 because of his injury. 8th on the board, Kyle Larson, $354,040. Last year, he made $434,000. He was also 8th on this board 1 year ago. 9th, Sheldon Haudenschild at $346,675. Last year, he made $394,515. He was also 9th on the board 1 year ago. And also want to mention this, Reutzel, he won the Weikert, $100,000 there. Kyle Larson won the Joker's Jackpot, $100,000 there. Sheldon Haudenschild, he won the National Open, $75,000. Am I missing a big race that Carson Macedo won? I feel like I'm forgetting something. Did Carson Macedo win a 100,000 to win race this year? I don't think he did, but still had a solid season. And rounding out the top 10 was Brad Sweet at $316,370. Last year, he was sixth on the board at $445,704. So Sweet in the top 10 2 years in a row, but we know that more than likely that's not going to be the case next year unless he decides to win the Knoxville Nationals and a Kings Royal in a part-time role as a driver. Also, I like to put this on the board. 25th overall this year was Tyler Courtney. He made $163,350. Of course, he was injured as well throughout the year, and his earnings from last year, he was fifth overall at $449,915. Now, why did I put 25th on the board? Because I feel like looking at 25th from this year and then looking at 25th from last year and the year before, you can just tell, you could see how much more money is up for grabs for these teams throughout the years that have gone by. 1 year ago, the 25th place guy in earnings was Corey Eliason at $150,264. Now, mind you, Tyler Courtney was hurt for almost half the season, and he made $13,000 more than Corey Eliason did 1 year ago in that same 25th position on the SprintCarRatings.com website. Also, in 2023, the 25th place guy was Chase Randall, and his earnings were $136,440. So from 2023 to 2025, the 25th place guy made almost $30,000 more, and from 1 year ago, it was $13,000 more. So that is a good sign to me of more guys getting more and more money down the line in sprint car racing. And another one that is really shocking is the 44th place driver, and the 44th, it's kind of a random number, right? But Cy Lynch was the final driver to get $100,000 in earnings in 2025. He ends up with $101,545. Last year, the 44th place driver in earnings was Ayrton Geniton at $91,680. And it gets crazier when you go back a year before that. In 2023, the 44th place driver was AJ Flick. He had $66,000. So from 2 years ago, there's been a $44,000 increase for the 44th place driver in the sprint car earnings and $10,000 from 1 year ago. So that is, like I said, it just seems like every single year, more and more teams are bringing more and more money in to help their team. Of course, Cy Lynch, that number is just race purse. He also ran high limit, got a championship check at the end of the year as well. So he made more than $101,000, but race purse alone, that is where Cy Lynch ended up at. Now, 1 year ago, the total purse for every single 410 sprint car race in the nation was $18,250,713. 1 year later, it jumps to $19,401,397. So $1,000,000 and about $150,000 were added to race purses from 1 year to the next. Absolutely fantastic numbers there. Also, this is one of my favorite numbers to pay attention to. 2024, there were 36 drivers that made over $100,000. And as I mentioned earlier, 44 drivers hit that mark in 2025. And it was almost 45. I mean, Brady Bacon missed it by $250. So, nine more guys, or was that eight? Yeah, nine more guys, right? 9, 8, something like that. More drivers went from outside of that six-figure payday to inside of it at the end of the year. That is absolutely incredible. And the numbers on SprintCarRatings.com show that that is the biggest single, year-over-year jump in drivers hitting that mark than ever before in the sport's history. So that is very, very cool to see as well. And this graph, I think, is very cool as well. 2024, there were 25 drivers that made over $150,000 in sprint car racing. 2024, there was 25 drivers. And in 2025, that number went up to 29. So 4 more drivers earned 150 grand. In 2024, there were 18 guys that made 200,000, the same number for 2025. There was 16 drivers that made $250,000. That was the same number as in 2025. 300,000, there were 3 more drivers last year that made 300,000 compared to this year. And for 400,000, there were 2 more drivers last year compared to this year. But in the $500,000 mark, there was 1 more driver than there was last year. There was 4 this year that made $500,000 and only 3 in 2024. And in 2025, there was 1 driver that made $750,000. There was nobody in 2024 that was able to make that much money. So This is obviously good, but then you got a couple of lulls here, down 3, down 2, up 1, right? So it's a little bit, all over the place. I think these numbers would have worked out more in the favor of 2025 if Tyler Courtney, Aaron Reutzel, guys like that did not get hurt. Potentially, we could have seen Reutzel over that $400,000 mark. He probably would have if he ran the Knoxville Nationals and all those other races. Tyler Courtney, who knows what he could have been at if he did not get injured as well. But these are the drivers right here that made $100,000 for the first time in their careers. I did a video about that a few days ago. Chase Dietz, Troy Wagaman, Dason Persley, Ryan Smith, Trey Starks, Austin McCarl, Tanner Holmes, and Ashton Torgerson. Brady Bacon on the list as well. He missed it by $245, so I put him on the board as well. But those drivers, for the first time in their careers, able to hit the six-figure mark in earnings in 1 year of sprint car racing. We've got all those things as well. We talked about it earlier. And SprintCarRatings.com, none of this would be possible without his incredible website. I feel like I'm on it almost every single day. If you are a diehard sprint car fan and you like to see the stats, I highly, highly recommend going to his website and checking things out. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Is anything on the board surprising to you? Do you have concerns about things? I would love to hear your thoughts down in that comment section below. I'll try to reply to you. If you do have questions or concerns, also hit like, hit subscribe, and we're back here tomorrow on the Rodman Rundown to talk more sprint car racing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll talk to you again soon.